Hi guys, welcome to Amy Jade Interviews. On this platform, I partner up with professionals in the field of women's health and wellness to bring you up-to-date, informative and inspiring content. On today's episode, I interviewed Meah Robertson, who is a highly skilled and qualified naturopath with a special interest in women's health and well-being. Meah has formulated an incredible whole food over-the-counter supplement called Fem21, which is filled with incredible herbs, pre- and probiotics to give an all-round hormonal health boost to women. In this episode, we talk about how these herbs can better support your hormonal cycles, how these herbs act in the body, different herbs for targeting different body systems, and why the liver is so important for your hormonal health, the importance of your thyroid for hormonal health, and lifestyle modifications and changes you can use to see the best results when using herbal products. We also go into how long it takes to see results from herbal products and what you can expect to see within a certain time frame. Meah is a true wealth of knowledge and a beacon of sunshine to talk to. I hope you all enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. So I'm here with the beautiful Meah Robertson, the founder and creator of the incredible women's whole food supplement herbal product Fem21. And Mia's going to talk to us all about women's hormones and herbs and supplements and everything to sort of, support and boost women's hormonal health and overall well-being. So I'm here with the beautiful Meah today. Meah, would you like to introduce yourself? Who are you? What do you do? Just tell us a little bit about you.
Great. So thanks for having me, Amy. I feel very honoured to be on your podcast. Very exciting. I'm Meah. I am a naturopath. I've been practicing for the last 15 years. I have a clinical practice based on the Gold Coast in Parkwood, and I specialise in women's health, fertility, mental health. And I created a product to help myself and clients that I have been seeing in practice for many years with similar issues to me, and just those themes running through, which is Fem21. And so created that over 6 years ago now.
Wow.
And it's been just growing beautifully and helping lots of women, and I guess achieving something that I couldn't necessarily achieve seeing clients one-on-one in practice. So it's really helping women on a larger scale, which is awesome. I kind of have two arms to my business or in my career, which is managing Fem21 and the distribution of that, and my clinical practice.
I can imagine back when you first started Fem21, it wouldn't have been so well known, sort of like the topics of women's health, women's hormones and all this sort of stuff. So probably would have been like quite a new sort of new age product, that there was not much around like that.
Yeah, definitely. When I first started out as a naturopath in clinical practice, I was working in a fertility clinic called Sharky's Healing Centre, which is based on the Gold Coast. And I was seeing like lots and lots of women with hormonal and fertility issues. Obviously, it was a really busy practice. And we were, predominantly prescribing a lot of herbs in treatment plans for women and couples, and also nutritionals and gut support and alkalizing greens and things like that. And there wasn't really anything that I felt that was available on the market at that time that supported women's hormonal health holistically. I mean, sure, you could get an individualized formula made up, but there wasn't anything you could buy ready-made off the over the counter that supported hormonal balancing, both with estrogen and metabolism and progesterone lifting, as well as adrenal health and gut support and alkalizing greens and antioxidant rich superfoods. So they're kind of what I felt like there was a gap there, because you could go out and buy Dim or Chase Tree or
all these random bits all over the place, but not like a whole encompassing beautiful formula
all together. So I guess my background as, you know, a naturopath and a mum. So I had my kids fairly young at about, I had my daughter at 23, my first daughter at 23.
That's my age.
So
Can't even imagine.
got it done early. And then I had my second daughter 2 years later. But prior to that, you know, I had a lot of issues with irregular cycles, hormonal acne, you know, severe mood fluctuations, anxiety, depression, adrenal fatigue, gut issues, and was diagnosed with PCOS on ultrasound. And so I was kind of like fully brought up the natural way. So, you know, never vaccinated, no drugs, no, like, you know, no Panadol, no anything. The first time I saw a doctor was, I think, when I was 16 to get a boil lanced under my arm. So I was, you know, brought up in that environment, very, you know, alternative, I would say. But that being said, you know, it was great. It was such a blessing because it helped to progress me down this path of being a naturopath. And, you know, I absolutely love what I do. But I was never, you know, diagnosed with anything at a younger age. And so it wasn't really until I left home and started studying naturopathy and moved from Cairns to the Gold Coast, and, you know, was standing on my own feet and figuring the world out and myself out, that that I went to a doctor, got some blood tests done, had an ultrasound, they put me on the pill, and, you know, just started that sort of looking at, you know, some other things as to what was going on with my health and happiness and my cycles. So yeah, that was all a bit of a nightmare, to be honest, because I really had a bad response to the pill.
Oh God, really?
Yeah.
I've been there too, sister.
That was, you know, 6 months of hell, trying to figure things out as to why I was going crazy. But that being said, it was a learning curve for me to know that, you know, I'm not alone. Not everybody responds well to the pill, and it's really important to sort out the cause of what's going on to your hormonal issues, as opposed to just band-aiding them with synthetic hormones. So yeah, I guess then when I started out in clinical practice, I was really interested in women's health and fertility. And when I graduated, I was like 8 months pregnant with my first daughter. And so, you know, I'm getting my certificate with a big tummy, and that was
that's so funny.
But I guess like the final sort of stages of clinic at college, I was, you know, obviously pregnant, but interested in, you know, fertility and hormones and women's health. And so then after I had my daughter, you know, I actively looked for work in that field, and started working at Sharky's Healing Centre. And that was just so helpful for me to have like a mentor at that clinic, and really be thrust into, you know, seeing, like, we were like crazy busy. They were on Sharky's Healing Centre was on like a current affair a few times, and you know, like things just blew up like after airing on that. And so, you know, we'd be booked out for weeks and weeks in advance, and, you know, my days would be like, you know, seeing up to 11 consults, patients a day. It was
like
hectic.
back to back sort of thing.
Back to back. So it's kind of just jumped in the deep end, and, you know, it's like sink or swim. So you're just swimming madly, panicking. Getting through, you know, I guess I was young and full of energy and inspired at that time and excited for it all. So I was there for 5 years, and I had my second daughter whilst I was working at that clinic. And then at the end of 5 years, I felt like that phase in my life was done and I was ready to branch out on my own. And so I started to move away from, solely doing fertility and practice to more general women's health.
Yeah.
And at that time, I think my daughter must have been about 2, around that age, my second daughter. And I was like, all right, I'd finished breastfeeding. I was, still having an irregular cycle. I was adrenally fatigued. My skin was awful. And I was like, okay, it's time for me to sort out my own shit.
Time for me to give back to me, hey?
Yeah. So, after a few years, started working on the formula of Fem21 and then that started out just like as a little project to help me and other women that I was seeing in practice with similar issues around their adrenals and gut health and liver and detoxification and hormonal health. And it's just, I know it's a good formula because it just continues to help people, again and again and again, and just has grown beautifully. You're onto a good thing when it has that just natural ripple effect. Yeah.
And I think what the great thing about the product is as well is it's like accessible to everyone. You can go into a health food store and access it. You don't need to you don't need to pay for like an appointment. You don't need any of that sort of stuff to sort of be able to go like get a really beautiful, potent, supportive formula that's going to instantly give you like benefits and results and stuff like that. So I think it's been a huge game changer for so many women.
And I think, that's important too, because like there are so many retail products. I mean, I've worked in health food industry since I was 15. Like I worked in a health food store. So I know that, what products are available over the counter. And, there's such variations in how effective things can be, as opposed to, we get that assurance with practitioner products, but not necessarily with retail products. So I really wanted something that was accessible to all women, that was effective, that worked therapeutically. And so, that's
where it
was part of the intention behind Fem21, I guess. Yeah.
Beautiful. So did you want to talk a little bit about what herbs and what's within the formula Fem21 and how it can sort of help women's hormones and gut health and liver detox? Talk to us a little bit about that and the sort of herbs and stuff that you use in the formula.
So there's 21 ingredients, which is why the name is Fem21.
Right.
So I picked each ingredient really for its actions. And I guess, as a naturopath, that's how you're trained in herbal medicine, to pick herbs based on actions of what you're trying to achieve for that patient or work on. So I wanted the fiber in there. So I've got the psyllium and slippery elm and the licorice for, adrenal support. And, we've got chase tree, of course, in there, and herbs that help to balance with estrogen, like rosemary and black cohosh and broccoli. And we've got Siberian ginseng and withania, which are some of my favorite adrenally supportive herbs. And, we've got our liver detoxification herbs like St. Mary's thistle and dandelion. And we've got those alkalizing greens like wheatgrass and barley grass. So it's a nice sort of comprehensive formula for those specific systems. But then, of course, you've got like the fiber and the antioxidants and the probiotics also in there, supporting, which is, important for gut health, inflammation management within the gut, circulation, like with ginger, and supporting good digestive enzyme release through some bitter herbs. Like, we've got, ginger and dandelion in there. And so it sort of is working on a variety of different levels, which I think is how you think naturopathically in terms of wanting that holistic support, rather than just sort of focusing on one area, wanting to encompass multiple things.
And for someone who's listening who doesn't really know about the role of the liver in hormonal support and how, it can really like make or break your hormones, can you just talk a little bit about that and why the liver is so important and liver detoxification?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, herbal medicine is so great for supporting liver health.
Yeah.
And it works on, that phase 2 detoxification, which processes estrogen. And there's lots of different types of estrogen. We make estrogen in the lead up to ovulation, but if we're not metabolizing that effectively through that phase 2 detoxification of the liver, it turns into these other more potent forms of estrogen, which then stay in your luteal phase throughout your cycle and cause more problems in the lead up to your next period. And so that potent estrogen can, is certainly like promoting growth of things in the body, which can be growth of endometriosis, growth of cysts, growth of the endometrial lining, leading to more heavy period. It can also contribute to the growth of fat cells. So we really want to ensure that we're metabolizing estrogen effectively, and that we're not building up this potent toxic estrogen. And the liver is the best, pathway of metabolizing estrogen out of the body. But there's like it's like a double-edged sword, because you really want the liver to be processing effectively, but once the liver processes, it dumps those metabolites into the bowel. And so if you don't have enough fiber and good bacteria within the gut to soak up those metabolites and carry them out of the body through a healthy bowel motion, then you can get reabsorption and recycling of that toxic estrogen, which just further impacts that load on the body. So that's why I think having that fiber, good bacteria, probiotics in there is really important to support healthy hormone balance. But we've got other factors which impact liver health as well, and I think the nutritionals and herbals work really well together. So nutritional compounds like N-acetylcysteine or B vitamins and zinc and iodine are also helpful for maintaining good estrogen metabolism within the body. If you're deficient in those things, then you can be pushing the liver with herbs, but only getting so far. You really need those resources nutritionally as well as the herbal medicine support for the best results. And other nutritional compounds like DIM, diindolylmethylene, can be, of course, really helpful. And I'm just having a mental blank.
There's so many to go into.
It's but I mean, we're mainly here to talk about herbs. So St. Mary's thistle, dandelion, rosemary, Schisandra, some of my favorite liver herbs for sure.
And I also noticed within the Fem 21 blend you've got bladderwrack. Am I saying that correctly?
Bladderwrack.
Bladderwrack, that's right. And it's good for like the thyroid health, isn't it, as well? Can you speak a little bit about the importance of like thyroid health and how good it is to have herbs to support sort of your thyroid and really keep it optimum functioning?
Yeah, so thyroid can definitely be, something that slips under the radar in terms of, looking at the body holistically. If the thyroid's working suboptimally, then we're not going to get that appropriate metabolism of our hormones, but of our cells as well. Like the thyroid produces active T4, which converts into active T3, which stimulates cellular metabolism. So if we're low in terms of cellular metabolism, then it could be because we don't have enough active T3 being supplied from the thyroid gland. And that can affect all areas of the body, not just necessarily our hormonal health, but definitely impacts hormonal health for sure, in terms of, weight, how we're metabolizing estrogen, how well we're producing progesterone and converting DHEA into progesterone. It impacts our adrenal function as well. So, like I say often, that the thyroid and adrenals are really closely linked in our endocrine system. And so if our thyroid's working suboptimally, that can have a knock-on effect to our ovarian function as well as our adrenal function. And so supporting, those three areas is is important together. So I love bladderwrack for supporting thyroid health. You know, it naturally has high levels of iodine in it, being a seaweed.
So it's like a whole food form of iodine.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And, you know, we've also got withania in there and, you know, licorice, Siberian ginseng, which are supportive for the adrenals. So, you know, we've got ovarian herbs, adrenal herbs, and thyroid herbs all working together.
Mm-hmm. And what about, so you spoke a little bit as well about sort of the low progesterone and that there's herbs within the formula to sort of boost progesterone. What are some sort of symptoms that women might have if they have low progesterone, and sort of how do these herbs help to support and boost it?
Yeah, so progesterone is like the good, happy, relaxing hormone that we want in our cycles.
Yeah.
So it's really important that we're producing adequate levels of progesterone after ovulation that helps to balance our estrogen. So progesterone will decrease premenstrual symptoms. It will help us to feel calmer, you know, leading into a cycle. It's, you know, a relaxing hormone as well, so it can reduce like period cramps. It also impacts like breast health and sleep. So progesterone is super important, but that being said, it's using or looking at it in context to estrogen and how well estrogen's metabolized too. Because if estrogen's not being metabolized well and we've got high levels of estrogen, even we can have, you know, relatively good levels of progesterone, but it's like the seesaw. Even though progesterone's okay, estrogen's high, it still gives this relative imbalance. So you want to, you know, clear estrogen toxicity and then build up progesterone. So we've got a happier balance there. And progesterone's really significantly impacted by adrenal health. So if our adrenals are stressed and we're producing excess amounts of cortisol, or our adrenals are insufficient or underactive and we're not producing much cortisol, then if we're not within that happy window within it for our adrenal function, then the production of progesterone is impacted. And so the stress hormones and adrenal hormones become the priority. So the body produces them and focuses on that system or energizing that system, as opposed to reproduction and producing progesterone.
Right. So if you have too much cortisol, then pretty much you don't produce progesterone within that sort of.
Well, that's right. Yeah. You do still produce some progesterone, but it's robbed. Yeah. So whatever progesterone you are producing from the corpus luteum after ovulation gets shunted into making cortisol.
Wow. Right. So, and the herbs as well, such as like withania and the adaptogenic herbs within the formula, help regulate that sort of stress response as well. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So we've got those adrenal herbs in there, and then we've also got the progesterone promoting herbs like chaste tree. So chaste tree is one of my favorite herbs, or vitex, when it comes to ovarian health, regulating ovulation, supporting healthy progesterone production, also increasing dopamine levels as well, which can impact how we're feeling mood wise.
Oh my gosh, that's huge. So yeah, there's so much. This honestly is like such a broad topic, isn't it? When you start looking at hormonal health, you realize like how interlinked literally every single body system is.
That's right. Yeah.
And so why do you think like there's such a prevalence with hormonal problems? Is it because people are lacking sort of the fiber in their diet to reduce the estrogen, and sort of like they're lacking the antioxidants and nutritional compounds to be able to support the metabolism? Is that where it's also starting? Yeah.
Look, I think everybody's different, right? And it really depends on your individual circumstances as to what's contributing to your hormonal picture. But look, generalizing things, just in terms of what I've been seeing in my clinical practice over the last 15 years in terms of hormonal issues, I would say that the causes are stress, So adrenal stress, exposure to chemicals in the environment, like through plastics, through what people are eating, how much alcohol they're consuming, and things like the type of water that they're drinking, or how much takeaway they're having, or if they're having coffees out of cups that are lined with anti-stick things, and if they've renovated their house and they've been breathing in fumes or glues or fire retardant or whatever it might be. So I think there's an environmental aspect. I also think there's a genetic aspect that probably hasn't been looked at enough. But I'm lucky in my experience as a naturopath to have worked with an integrative GP for a period of about 7 years. And he was a mentor for me, which was great. We worked side by side, and he taught me a lot about genetics and methylation issues and things like pyruria and undermethylation. And within that, I guess, research around how well people are methylating and the impacts of genes on mental health and other factors like fertility and cardiovascular health, we can also extrapolate how it's impacting hormonal health in terms of undermethylation, which is definitely underdiagnosed and fairly prevalent, meaning that people aren't recycling their folate well. They might have an MTHFR mutation, or they've got a B12 mutation in how they're metabolizing B12, or they've got a mutation in how they're metabolizing homocysteine or methionine in the last part of the methylation cycle. And so that methylation engine produces enzymes that help with hormonal metabolism, like catechol methyltransferase, which is COMT in short. And that COMT gene plays a huge role in how we're clearing estrogen. And so, this estrogen dominance, estrogen metabolism issues that are so very common, which, can say that, if they're doing all the right things in terms of diet, exercise, water intake, environmental things, even, herbal support, but they're still not getting, they're still having these ongoing issues. They might have a family history of breast cancer or fibroids or endometriosis or fertility issues. And then you're not supporting that methylation process for them, then again, you're only getting sort of part of the way there. So looking into that, I think, is really valuable for supporting hormonal health for women and estrogen dominance.
Yeah, so it's really important for people to sort of look into genetic factors as well if they're really having problems with their hormonal health.
Yeah, 100%. And there's great tests that you can do these days. You can do blood tests with your practitioner to find out what your methylation status is. You can do, urine tests like the Dutch test, which helps to give you a better understanding about how well you are metabolizing estrogen and what genes are playing a part in that metabolism.
All right. So say if someone's sort of started taking Fem21, how would you recommend them to start taking it? And like, how long do people have to wait to see results with herbal formulations and herbal supplements? And how long does it take to see that change in your cycle and overall well-being?
Yeah, so I guess, everybody's an individual, and I definitely, come from that naturopathic background where I like to support people with where they're at. So I guess it just depends on, if you've got any gut issues currently going on. So say, for example, you're suffering a lot with bloating, and, after eating, you get bloated. Before your period, you get bloated, your bowels change. If you have a sensitive tummy, if you've done a history of if you've got a history of taking antibiotics or the pill that upsets your gut function, then you might want to start slowly with Fem21, which might be like just a half scoop initially for the first 2 weeks. just so your body gets used to that additional fiber intake. Because sometimes when you're introducing a lot of fiber into a gut that's already inflamed or has dysbiosis, and is, sensitive, it can, make things worse. You can get really windy, you can get even more bloated. And so in that circumstance, you want to sort of go more slowly with it. But the general rule is, if you don't have gut issues, you can generally tolerate having a full scoop of Fem21 straight up. And once you get to your full scoop dose, most women can, see good results on doing 1 scoop a day within the first month. And so that being said, their period may be better, their pelvic pain may be better, their skin may be better, their moods and energy may be better over that time. But that being said, long term, I think the best time frame to keep in mind is to be consistent with anything that's going to be working on your hormonal health for at least 3 months.
Yeah.
Because you want to have that time for your body to respond in those, first 3 cycles, to figure things out, which is where you've been to where you want to be. So, for some people that have been suffering with, bad hormonal issues for a long period of time, it might take them like a little while to see a difference with their cycles. So you've got to give it at least that first 3 months on Fem21 to see, changes. And those changes also may be that things get worse before they get better. And so for some people, they can go through a detoxification phase where, their skin may break out even more, or they may get more headaches, or they may get a really heavy period.
And they'll be like, what the hell's going on? This product is making me go crazy.
Be worse.
Yeah.
And I guess, if you can commit to that 3 months, then
so
for things to work themselves out, it's so worth it, 100%. But if you're sort of not aware of that going in, like you said, you're like, oh, this is making me worse, I'm making me crazy.
Literally, because when I came off the pill, I got that sort of acne breakout that's associated with it, and so I started on herbs like St. Mary's thistle and all this sort of stuff, just really sort of detoxify, and my skin started breaking out so much more, and I was like, oh my God, I was like, I'm regressing. I'm like, this is freaking me out. Like, all I wanted to do was clear up my skin, and it was getting worse.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, like stick with it. And as you said, it was literally just that detoxification process. And it was like light acne in a way of my body sort of removing those toxins from my system, which means that it's no longer a problem anymore. And it's so worthwhile just sticking through with it for a bit, because you do break through.
Yeah, definitely.
Right through to the other side. And is there like a time frame as well, like during the cycle? Say like if someone wanted to take the product, I don't know, to like benefit a certain area of their cycle, would you recommend them taking it in like the follicular phase, luteal, menstrual phase? Is there like a really good window as well where you'd recommend taking a product like this?
So I definitely take it consistently throughout your cycle for at least that first 3 months, and really just assess where you're at after that. Like for some women with estrogen dominant type symptoms that, may include heavy, painful periods, a lot of fluid retention, hormonal migraines, really sore, swollen breasts, prior to their period, I do often recommend doing 2 scoops of Fem21, so doubling the dose from ovulation, so through your luteal phase until your next period comes. So if you're doing that sort of cycle dosing, which is like 1 scoop a day for the first half of your cycle, and then 2 scoops a day for the second half of your cycle, if you're doing that for 3 months, and then you're seeing that things are improving, then you might find that after that 3 month time frame that you just need to, 1 scoop a day in the luteal phase, for example.
Right. Okay.
But I would just listen to your own body. So listen to your body and just take it when you feel like you need that extra support. The good thing about it is once you sort of lay that foundation and do that work in that first 3 months, then after that you can certainly be more flexible with your dosing regime.
Okay. And so for people with, reproductive problems like PCOS, amenorrhea, endometriosis, fibroids, all these sorts of things, all these herbs, will they be safe and beneficial for people with all these different sorts of conditions as well? Like, will these herbs be supportive?
Yeah, definitely. So I really did design the formula to support the main, hormonal issues that women are experiencing. Like my background, obviously, like I said, is with PCOS, but I wanted herbs in there that did the estrogen modulating and supported that metabolism of bad estrogen out of the body, promoting, healthy ovarian health and good estrogen production, which is of course supportive for endometriosis, as well as PCOS, as well as fertility issues. And so, I've had great reports from all spectrums of women, from, PCOS to endometriosis to fibroids to fertility issues to menopause. So, to acne, hormonal acne. So it really does cover a nice broad spectrum of women in different age brackets, depending on what your priorities are hormonally, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like all the different herbs in it, obviously suitable for pretty much everyone, and they work on the body systems and stuff like that. Like totally fine.
Yeah. And I think the great thing about herbal medicine is that it does have that supportive, role. It's like a coach in the body. So it sort of is encouraging the body towards those, self-modulating, actions in terms of working on the individual. So it's not like a medication that has like an overriding effect the same on every person. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I probably didn't explain that very well.
No, well, I mean, I study it, so I probably know a bit more about what you mean. Could you talk a little bit, sort of about how herbs act on the body, and sort of how they have like a holistic effect, and sort of a bit more of a gentle, nourishing effect, where they can sort of, they can regulate things, they can bring them up, they can bring them down, to bring the body a bit more into that symbiote, like into its balance.
So, I think the way herbs work also depends on their dosing that you're using. And so, like you can go right down to homeopathic dosing, and that can still have an impact on the body. And then you can go up to really high potency dosing, and then that can have a different impact on the body. So I guess with my formulation is that I'm sort of trying to meet in the middle. In terms of, having therapeutic levels or in therapeutic actions within the body, but not overriding the body's processes. So allowing and supporting the body to figure its hormonal health out naturally. So having that, modulating effect is important. So it can, bring good estrogen up and bad estrogen down. That's a modulating effect, rather than just say working on specifically bringing estrogen up.
Because you wouldn't, obviously, if someone's got excess estrogen, you don't want to be having herbs, like lots of herbs that would be like boosting it and bringing it back up. So that modulating effect helps with that overall picture, doesn't it?
But that being said too, I think it's also important to have all of those other things in place for those herbs to work in that way. So, if you're still not sleeping well and eating poorly and not moving your body and you're nutrient deficient, then the herbs won't be effective for you in that modulating way, or as effective for you in that modulating way. So you still get some benefit, but potentially not get to where your optimal could be without doing that other work.
So what are some other sort of lifestyle factors that people can incorporate to really, potentize the effect of the herbs and to sort of really bring on the best change possible for themselves?
Yeah, so I think, there's a few things to be mindful of around hormonal health in terms of nutrient levels. So quite often I see people like deficient in zinc and high in copper, and that can impact how we're producing progesterone, how we're metabolizing estrogen, how our body's dealing with inflammation, which can contribute significantly to PCOS, to endometriosis, PMS, all of those sort of problems are, hormonal issues around your periods and the quality of your periods. So, a zinc deficiency may come from, your dietary choices. It can come from a history of being like on medication, like the pill.
So the pill depletes zinc.
Absolutely, yeah. The pill depletes zinc. Also, IUDs, like the copper IUD, can impact that zinc to copper ratio. Other medications can impact it. Being sick a lot, like if you've got that constitution where you're picking up colds and flus, or you're having a viral load on the body, like from glandular fever or something like that, then you can be zinc deficient. Also, vegetarian diets are typically quite low in zinc as well. And if you've got pyroluria or pyrols, that also strips your body of zinc. So that's important to have an understanding about that genetic side of things too. So yeah, I would definitely say check that out. You can do a blood test. You might want to add in some zinc to your supplement regime, and that's best taken at night before bed for best absorption. And I usually recommend a dosing of 1 milligram of equivalent zinc per kilo of body weight. So if you're about 50 kilos, then taking 50 milligrams of equivalent zinc is important.
Right.
And you might want to do like an extra 25%, say if you do have like pyroluria going on, or you picked up a deficiency specifically through a blood test. So yeah, diet can play a part, lifestyle, in terms of other nutrients that can be depleted, definitely stress and B vitamins and magnesium is important. So magnesium nourishes the nervous system. B vitamins are really important for our adrenal health. So if you are living a day-to-day high stress lifestyle, whether it be work or not sleeping well or drinking excess amounts of coffee, or under a lot of stress from financial, family, relationships, whatever it might be, then that's depleting the body of those nutrients, and that can play a big part for our overall health and well-being, but our hormonal health as well. We need our B vitamins to metabolize hormones efficiently, to make our adrenal hormones, and for our nervous system to function efficiently, for muscle contraction, relaxation. Magnesium's important. That can impact, period pain and cramping and inflammation control as well. Magnesium helps with that too. And also impacts sleep, the quality of our sleep. And so if we're not sleeping well, then magnesium can come in and be beneficial at that time, taken with zinc, to get a better quality sleep, so that we're doing all of our maintenance and repair work, and our body can recharge efficiently through the night.
Oh, wow. It's incredible, isn't it? Just the power of sort of knowing this sort of stuff is just could be the game-changing factor for you, just having that little bit of extra knowledge, and that, because I feel like a lot of us as well have been on the pill at some stage. And, you don't really realize that you need to replete and re-nourish your body with these vitamins that the pill depletes for so long, like B vitamins and zinc, and your gut health and all this stuff really need to be brought back up to a good standard to be able to work with it.
Yeah. And I'd say, other lifestyle factors that, impact our hormonal health as well, as moving our body and exercising. And certainly, women that exercise appropriately for their adrenal health
What would you
get
recommend for
much
that?
better results with their cycles, I would say, and their energy levels. So I guess it's really just assessing where you're at for your adrenal health. So if you're producing excess amounts of cortisol, so if you're on that high end of the scale, then you want to be exercising vigorously and regularly in order to process those stress hormones out of your body and channel them into an efficient form of, energy expenditure, rather than, holding on to all of that anxiety that builds up in our system that then, causes all of that inflammation and stress within the body, not just emotional stress, but physical as well. Then if you're on the other end of the scale where you're adrenally deplete or adrenally fatigued, you want to be doing exercise that nourishes the body, that gets the adrenals moving and up and going, but not, too intense that your body can't handle at that time. So, for those people, less intense exercise like, yoga or Pilates or walking or stretching, and especially exercising in the mornings as well is really important for those people, just to help their sleep-wake cycles get back on track and their adrenals start to function normally. I think it's the worst thing to do when you're adrenally fatigued to try, join at like F45 or something like that, or commit to doing, like 5 or 6 days a week of higher intensity exercise. It's just going to do more harm than good, in your system at that time.
And how can someone know if they're adrenally fatigued?
So I would say, typical symptoms of adrenal fatigue is waking up feeling tired, needing coffee to get going, having a mid-afternoon slump, craving sugar, and not switching off at night. So having difficulties getting off to sleep. Your mind can be very active, and then taking a while to switch off, and then having a restless sleep. So it's almost like you're active at night and through the night, and then you're tired and fatigued through the day.
Your body reverses on itself.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So it's just gently bringing it back and coaching it back into that appropriate cycle of being active through the day and then switching off and resting at night. And, whether you're doing that through modifications in your exercise regime or, supplements or herbs, lifestyle factors can play a part too, having a chamomile tea at night or, some nourishing, some cacao in the morning or something instead of coffee. That's more nourishing.
Literally. And like herbs for nighttime as well, like there's beautiful sleepy time teas with like passion flower and lavender and chamomile and simple things like that. Like a simple tea, it doesn't need to be so intense or serious as well, does it? Like you can really get really great results with herbs just from like infusions and stuff like that too.
Definitely. And I would probably say the other lifestyle factor that I think is really important when it comes to women's hormonal health and period health is what they're using for their sanitary products. So it's probably something that's not talked about a lot, but I like to share it wherever I can, that I strongly discourage the use of internal sanitary products, especially tampons. Because with your period, you really want to let it flow and you don't want to build up congestion within the uterus. You don't want to be introducing chemicals from the tampons and what they've sprayed on the cotton or put in those synthetic fibers into the vagina, which, those chemicals get absorbed through the mucosal membranes into the pelvic cavity, which, can certainly play a part with, disrupting the normal function of your ovaries and your uterine health. So period underwear is definitely my favorite go-to for period health.
What do you think about
a lot of
menstrual
women
cups?
I guess I was just going to say a lot of women use menstrual cups, and I guess it depends on your periods. So I think, women that have like a retroverted uterus or have pain during intercourse or have issues with like chronic candida or bacterial vaginosis, or any sort of issues around their vaginal health, I would discourage them using a cup as well. You just want to let those mucous membranes restore, and you don't want any pressure around the cervix. Like the cup often sits right up around and sucks sort of around the cervix, which can then cause a little bit of constriction there and not allow for full flow of blood out of the uterus.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah, but I think it just depends on the individual. Like, in the past, I've used menstrual cups like when I've gone camping and haven't wanted to worry about, washing period underwear or disposing of, pads. And, I was doing a lot of swimming and stuff like that. So at that time, that worked really well for me. But it's not something that I use every cycle by any stretch. I don't think I've used a cup for probably about 2 years.
Wow, okay, yeah.
Certainly don't use tampons. But if you're looking for an alternative to a tampon, I think a cup's a better option because you're not getting that chemical introduction, but it's still, a foreign body within the vagina, which is, causes some constriction within the uterus, within the cervix.
And what about like organic pads and stuff like that? Do you think that's okay?
Yeah,
it's a good
definitely option. Yeah, definitely a good option. Organic wherever possible, I think is the go. You just want to try to limit or reduce your chemical exposure, and especially endocrine disrupting chemicals are so prevalent in our environment and in foods and in what we put on our skin, personal care products as well. So you want to go organic and natural. Keep it simple.
Because the vagina's like super absorbent as well, isn't it? So literally like whatever you put in contact with it will just get absorbed straight into your body and then straight into that sort of region and can cause
that's
lots
right.
of problems. Yeah.
And unlike other cotton-based products, so like our clothes, sanitary products are single use, obviously. So you're tearing open a fresh packet, whether it's a pads or a tampon, and whatever manufacturing chemicals have been involved, glues, dyes, anything that's been sprayed on the cotton is you're getting it introduced straight away into the body through the vagina. It's not like our clothes or period underwear, which you're washing, and all of those chemicals, from manufacturing and prior to purchasing that product are getting washed away. It's it's not great.
So like three main regions that women can sort of work on to improve their hormonal health. What would you say that would be?
I would say gut health for sure is definitely one. I would also be really mindful of alcohol consumption too, because I think binge drinking or drinking excessively significantly impacts how you're metabolizing estrogen. And then I would also say stress, is a massive contributing factor. So just ensuring that you're managing stress in a healthy way. It's something that we can't necessarily get away from. We're all busy, we're all striving. But I think it's just your mindset going into things where you can be busy, but not necessarily overwhelmed or feeling stressed about stuff. And just having that mindset of, enjoying what you're doing, loving what you're doing, feeling good about it. managing well and getting on top of things, feeling like there's a good energy exchange and feeling happy, as opposed to feeling like, oh, I'm overwhelmed, I can't do it, or blah, blah, blah. But that being said, you know, that mindset of getting really stressed easily and taking on a lot of stuff and not feeling like you can do it can be apparent even if you don't have a lot of load on you. You know, you just tend to worry about lots of little things.
Yeah. Overwhelm yourself.
Yeah. Overthink things, and, you know, not processing, you know, stress in a healthy way. So I think mindset and stress management is really important. Yeah.
Alrighty, well, thank you so much for talking to us all today. I'm sure people will gain so many juicy nuggets of beautiful wisdom. No, that was honestly such an incredible conversation. I learned so much about your beautiful product.
Thank you, Amy.
And so for people to sort of learn more about you and find more about Fem21 and everything, where can they go and where can they look?
I'd probably say the best place to start is Instagram. But we, you know, so we're just at Fem21 on Instagram. We share like so much great information on there. We do info posts pretty frequently about, you know, different hormonal health and women's health issues, and, you know, talking about the different ingredients that we have in our formulation and how it's helping people. So yeah, Instagram, we share the same info on Instagram as on Facebook if you're not on the Instagram platform. Our website, which is just fem21.com. And yeah, you can find all of info about Fem21 there, and then there's links, you know, to other info like my naturopathic practice and that side of things too.
Beautiful. And I'll obviously link all of that in the show notes and in the comment section below. But a huge thank you to Meah for joining us today. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Amy.
Thank you all so much for listening to this incredible episode with Meah. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please follow along on my socials, as I will be posting an incredible giveaway with Meah and the Fem21 product. So keep your eyes peeled for that and get ready for my next upcoming episodes.